Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Disney's Pinocchio. I don't want to be a jerk. I want to be a real boy. Hey there, my name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Disney's Pinocchio. Special thanks, as always, to our friends at Disney Plus Canada for giving us the opportunity to watch this movie early for review. Before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things Geekcentric. Joining me for this adventure to make Geppetto proud, we have my two favorite puppets, Megan Mahogany Clara. Hello.
Hello.
And Darcy, the Dank Oak Hudson.
Okay, I'd be an interesting puppet.
I was trying to figure out like what kind of woods would work for you guys. I think
Start with a D.
Yeah.
You could just say deciduous. A deciduous wood doesn't even have to be specific.
I
just
didn't
generic.
even. Okay, listen, you're too smart for me, dude. Okay, relax.
I did go to school to identify trees and wildlife, so I hope I retain something from that.
I get it, man. You're a real boy. You're a real boy. I think literally I was trying to come up with one for myself. I'm like, natural wood Nate. Like I don't even know where to go from there. So obviously
unpainted puppet.
There we go.
Yeah.
100%. But before we get into this review, I wanted to mention this is starting to feel like the year of Pinocchio, weirdly enough. We've got 3 motion pictures being released this year. Between this one, the upcoming Guillermo del Toro version for Netflix, and then there's also a Russian-Hungarian project called Pinocchio, A True Story. And then there's also
Shore.
with Pauly Shore.
Oh.
Yeah, it's super weird. And then there's also a video game coming out, which is a Souls-like game called Life of Pi, or Life of Pi, or I guess P. Because it's Pinocchio. It's crazy how like this industry works, where all these Pinocchio projects come out of the woodwork, pun intended, just out of nowhere, where it just feels like what? Why? How did these all fall into the same year?
Well, that's the thing. They all would have had to start filming them kind of around the same time because CGI takes a while. So that's so strange.
Super weird. But I wanted to ask, going all the way back to the year 1940. We all remember the 1940s, right? We're all
100%.
Super. Yeah, that was such a good year for me. Did you guys ever watch the original release of Pinocchio, the original classic animated film?
I absolutely did. And I can clearly remember it not being one of my favorites.
Oh, no.
I get very easily spooked. And as a child, that was a spooky Disney movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It was like, it felt very much like when I was watching, I'm like, did they mean for this to be for kids? Because it kind of is for kids. And then there's parts that just like really don't feel like it's for kids.
I mean, it's your classic cautionary tale from that, era where it's just like they're going to go extreme to really make those kids, stay on the straight and narrow type thing. But yeah, I mean, being a Disney house, we all watched those growing up. I mean, you watch all the animated movies when you're watching Disney. But I can agree with you, Megan, that we probably watched it maybe once or twice over the course of me and my brother's childhood. So again, not our favorite either. And I think it's because it was a bit spooky and
And really weird.
Yeah.
It's
Don't even try to drink root beer and smash some cuckoo clocks, okay? Because you're going to become a donkey, and that's what's going to happen. Spoilers if you haven't seen the original Pinocchio since 1940. I know this is a spoiler-free review, but it's like we'll probably be okay. I will say, like growing up watching it, I watched it in the 90s. By the time it came to VHS. And I will say, brand new VHS player. I will say the jokes never landed for me. And it was so scary. I think growing up even further, there were better versions of the Pinocchio story brought to life, and even in live action. And I might bring up one of them in a few moments. But first, let me get to the synopsis for this version of the movie. Academy Award winner Robert Zemeckis directs this live-action and CGI retelling, it's a very important word, which we'll obviously talk about, of the beloved tale of a wooden puppet who embarks on a thrilling adventure to become a real boy. Tom Hanks stars as Geppetto, the woodcarver who builds and treats Pinocchio, who's played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, as if he were his real son. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Jiminy Cricket, who serves as Pinocchio's guide as well as his conscience. Academy Award nominee Cynthia Erivo is the Blue Fairy. Keegan-Michael Key is Honest John. Academy Award nominee Lorraine Bracco is Sophia the Seagull. And Jaquita Talley, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is Sabina, who both Lorraine Bracco and Jaquita Talley are new characters. And Luke Evans rounds out the cast as the coachman. Very creepy in this movie. This is a Disney Plus Day premiere. Pinocchio has already come out as of you listening to this. It launched on September 8th. We are a little bit late to this review. Apologies. We had a little bit of a mix-up, but it's totally fine because all of our noses are back to normal size now, so there's nothing to worry about. Let's get to this movie. I want to know, just right off the top, like, what were your thoughts coming out of this live-action Pinocchio retelling?
Well, I mean, for most of these Disney live-action adaptations, I find they're either hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this one landed more on the miss side in more ways than one. They didn't reinvent the wheel at all, and when they tried to, in some instances, it was just unnecessary and pointless. So I was a bit of a disappointed coming out of this one. Pinocchio didn't make me proud. I don't know if Geppetto.
Oh no!
How Geppetto was. That's all I'm saying.
Shoot. And it's so tricky too, because like obviously we're talking about this movie that is clearly intended for kids, and we're all adults, and we say this all the time. But when there's so many other movies and versions of this story that have done it better, it's tough not to kind of be on the more critical side. I think, going into it, I enjoyed certain aspects about it. I thought Tom Hanks is incredibly endearing as Geppetto. I thought, like, I never put it together in my brain as a child that, like, he lost his son. And I don't know if that was more something they, like, leaned into with this one, where it was only implied in the original, whereas this one, it's like, no, they're really hammering it home. And there's that beautiful song he sings at the beginning. And I was just like, you know what? Or he kind of, like, sings. But it was... I really enjoyed that aspect of this story, and I would have loved more of it. But I think kind of what you're going off of, Darcy, of like, this is a retelling. It's a safe version of just the regular, original classic story, and they didn't stray far enough away for that from my liking. And I think there was an opportunity to do so. I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. There was something about going into this film that the trailer really got me excited. I thought they were all going to just be so scary that I wasn't going to want to bother watching them. But the trailer got me really excited for, like, the magical aspect of Pinocchio and it being this, like, they say it's a retelling, but I thought, like you said, Nate, they might do something a little different to, like, freshen up the story. But from my knowledge, it's pretty much a, like, scene for scene retelling of the original Disney movie. And I think that story doesn't really tell well anymore. It just didn't really make sense to me. I felt like there were a lot of moments where they didn't explain enough of why these things happen. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but do they say something about why his nose grows in the original movie?
I feel like they do. I mean,
this one, I don't think they said anything.
They don't say it. I'm pretty sure I remember Jiminy saying "never tell a lie" type thing, like that. Whole,
there's like
I think it's just something. I think in the original they talk about, like, something to do with, like, the fairy mentioned that this might happen from the magic. But no, I hear what you're saying. Like, they had the ability to expand upon these ideas even further, and they just don't. I want to kind of talk about the cast for a quick moment, if it's okay. Like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was fine as Jiminy Cricket. I thought he was, kind of delightful. The voice was it took a little bit of getting used to, but it's a Jiminy Cricket. But I will say Keegan-Michael Key as Honest John was a great addition. I would have loved more of him as a big bad in this movie, right? Like, he's barely in it, but for the moments that we get with him was really great. I don't think really we got anything of Lorraine Bracco. I'm wondering if she had a bigger part that was cut out, or I don't know, like as the seagull. Like, I just felt like, I don't know, man. Like it just felt super weird. Luke Evans, I think, as the coachman, did a great job of being horrifying, because he's usually so charming looking, right? So yeah, what did you guys think of the cast and kind of I think Evan Ains, what's his name again? Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. Yeah, great job with the voice of Pinocchio. I think that he did a very serviceable Pinocchio, but I don't know. What do you guys think of the cast? Sorry.
No, I agree with you on the Pinocchio voice. It was Pinocchio. It was this naive puppet boy who knows literally nothing. So that voice went along and played well with that character. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's voice was a little strange for me, but I was like, you know what? He's putting on a character. He is sort of reinventing his own version of Jiminy Cricket, and I can totally respect that. And like you said, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. He's the perfect person to play a role like Geppetto. I think they did a disservice to Tom Hanks because it felt very overplayed. I see Darcy's head is nodding so hard with
100%. Right, he just felt like an SNL impression to me the entire time he was on screen. It was a bad SNL impression that just was going on for far too long. Sorry to cut you off there. I was waiting for someone to talk about that, because it was probably one of my least favorite parts of this movie was Tom Hanks, unfortunately. And I love the guy.
Yeah, he is the perfect person to play Geppetto, and I just think it was like so over the top, and I wish that they had let him ground the story a little more.
And here's the deal. Again, they're following so strictly with this retelling that that's where I think the disservice comes into play for Tom Hanks, where it's like, I wanted more of Tom Hanks. Give us more of Geppetto. Make the story maybe a little bit more about Geppetto and his relationship with this alternate of his son. And I think that could have been a much better yielded storyline, to the point where, again, obviously, I don't know, I guess this is spoiler free, but like at the end of the movie, how much more impactful could that moment have been if we had more of Tom Hanks as Geppetto? I think it could have been absolutely fantastic, and it might have actually made me, I love when a movie can make me cry, and I wanted to, and I thought, like, had this have been had they changed some things around, moved some stuff around, this could have been that movie, but it just wasn't.
Just to add on, right at the end, I really loved the way Cynthia Erivo played the Blue Fairy. But again, I think it did a disservice to her as well, where she did try to modernize the character a little bit, and she was beautiful and did such a stunning job, but it didn't fit with the rest of the movie in a good way for her.
I 100% agree. That was one of the standout moments from the opening of the movie, was the Blue Fairy scene, and I really enjoyed it. And then it almost felt like that point onward, I was disappointed with more and more stuff. It was unfortunate. Yeah, she. I think the song there is absolutely really well performed, and I think that song in itself is kind of what I would have loved for the movie. It was the song, it was the original song, but it was done in such a wonderfully different, slightly tweaked way, modernized way, and she just she was beautiful with that. Amazing. I thought that was a fantastic moment. Yeah, and we keep throwing out around the word retelling, and to me a retelling does reinvent things for the story. So this movie was more just a telling of the tale we already knew, because nothing was changed in like influential ways, and it was just it left me wanting more. And I mean, maybe I am a bit more biased because I've heard years of impressions of Jiminy Cricket going to Disney, as he always closes out the parks and stuff like that, or opens up the fireworks shows. So I found Joseph Gordon-Levitt's version of Jiminy spot on and loved it. I was in love with it as soon as he started speaking, and so that part was great. Again, a lot of the cast was good, but Geppetto, who is like one of the only live action people in the movie, was the one where I felt like you are just acting with puppets, and it felt weird. It felt like a Muppet Show or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of just I don't know. I agree with you that they could have given him more. I think that would have maybe made that work a little bit better for you. I also, I think they did add a few things, right? Like they did add Sabina, the song "I Will Always Dance," which again, I love that part of the movie. Like I thought, okay, cool. We're starting to go somewhere a little new. I don't remember this from the original, and there were, those moments sort of happened in the original, but they never expanded upon it this much. Cool. Let's see him take this journey outside with this troupe, and then they just sort of drop it. And I don't understand. I get that it's out of, I guess, reverence of the original, but it's like if you want to watch the original, it's still there. It's on Disney Plus, right? Like the people can watch it.
Yeah, and like you said, like if you're gonna add stuff, have it added and be impactful. Whereas just don't tease with it. Like either go full on, or just don't do it and tell the original story. Like don't go fall in the middle here, where you're like, oh, there is potential for more, but you're not gonna get any of it. And it's just like, oh, that's so
100%. Like give those new characters legitimate purpose, because it felt like she didn't really play much of a purpose except for some sort of reassurance for Pinocchio, but even then it was very fleeting.
Right, he could trust her because she was a puppet, right? And I think there was an aspect to it that was kind of like, but again, that's a great idea.
Could have been awesome.
Trickled in there and then taken away so quickly. And I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, the story has been adapted so many times. I think one of my guilty pleasure movies, I don't know how well it was critically received. And Megan, I don't know if you could watch it because it might be a bit too scary for you, but Steven Spielberg's AI, Artificial Intelligence, starring Haley Joel Osment, is fantastic. I remember being so mesmerized. I was an 11-year-old kid when that movie came out. So mesmerized. I cried in it because I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, if I was that little robot boy that wanted to be a real boy, I would be really sad. And I remember like it was one of the first movies that I remember crying to. And I just feel like there's so many ways that they could have just pushed this a little further out, that could have just been so rewarding for both audiences, both young, old, and people who've seen it and people who haven't. That I just, again, that's what I think is really making it tough for me to recommend this movie.
Absolutely. One of the things, I don't know if you were thinking about bringing it up, but it was extremely evident that this was filmed to be seen in 3D, and that was tough for me to watch. I get really like almost seasick sort of feeling when there's too much of it, and it was so obvious that it was meant to be seen in 3D that it threw me away from wanting to pay attention to the movie. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it was very evident to me.
I was going to talk about that because that was one of the things I did enjoy, was the way that it didn't feel like it was supposed to be for 3D. If I got the feeling more they're trying to replicate that old style of shooting the cartoons with the multiple layers and like to get that parallax scrolling. It felt very like cartoony to me in everything about it. The way that it was presented felt like very much like a cartoon. So I did enjoy the aesthetic of it. So I find it very interesting that you went the opposite way and said it was not your alley. And I'm like, that was one of the things I did enjoy. So, and
I will say, kind of jumping on that as well, the animation is well done. I think the CGI is a little rough. I think that unfortunately our poor little kitten cat,
Figaro.
What's his name? Figaro, unfortunately, was just a little bit of a blob at times. He was a little blobby mess, but he was still very cute. But I don't know.
Well, for those CGI moments, specifically the seagull, for for Figaro, even for the puppets when they're meant to be puppets and not Pinocchio with magic. It was that sort of uncanny valley situation where it didn't look real and it didn't look cartoony. So it just was a little off, and that's where it's really difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, though, the moments where it really hit home for me, the cartoony aspects, were the moments with Honest John. And I think there's a sledgehammer moment and things like that where I was just like, that's a cartoon thing to do in this live action thing. And I enjoyed that. But then that started getting me down the idea of like, so why isn't this whole thing just CGI? Like, why not just do a full CGI updated version of the movie, and it might have they might have been able to do a little bit more with that, and maybe it wouldn't have fallen into that place in that middle area that you're kind of referring to, Megan.
Yeah, and just on the topic of Honest John, because this is something I wanted to mention, his hands creep me out so much. Like, they were way too. He had human hands. Yeah. I understand he's an anthropomorphic fox, but why does he have human hands? Like full on adult man hands wearing white gloves. It was. I could not focus on anything else
Uncanny
but
Valley.
His weird Swedish chef looking hands. It was not fun.
Yeah. Before we get to like our overall thoughts, I kind of just want to ask the major question that we're all dancing around here, like little puppets on strings. Did this movie need to happen?
No.
No, not at all.
No. Yeah, I don't think it did. I think and the problem is, I think I should know the formula by now for these live action remakes or retellings. Like, it's. I just feel like Disney gave me a glimmer of creative hope when they released Maleficent. Like, Maleficent came out, and I was like, awesome. I want more of that. Give me these stories that are different enough. And I think Mulan was another great example where maybe that movie wasn't the best, but it still gave me enough different from the original. And same with like Aladdin, right? We had enough with the genie, with Will Smith's The Genie, that makes me think to myself when I sit down and I feel like watching Aladdin again, I think, okay, do I want to watch this version of Aladdin or this version of Aladdin? Whereas things like The Lion King, I just felt, or this movie really just made me feel like, well, honestly, I'm going to pick the one that is the one I grew up with. And I know that sounds like I'm a 90s kid, so I'm always going to pick the 90s cartoon, and I'm sure there's a lot of kids out there that maybe their version of The Lion King was the live action version. And that's awesome for you. I just don't know if that's really what's needed for families of today. It's like that they have to have these remakes with these updated visuals and updated casts. I don't know.
Yeah, I think these like live action remakes of old movies are an interesting idea, but it's also like, can't you think of something new? Like, do we have to just keep watching the same thing over and over again? And sometimes it's successful, like you said, with Aladdin, or in my personal opinion, I actually really liked Cinderella because they did shift a little bit and it became more of that darker story rather than the Disney story. Yeah. But like Lion King, I was not impressed with. The Jungle Book, I was not impressed with. It was like taking this Disney movie, trying to make it look real, and then still keeping like the songs in it. And it was like, why are you doing this?
In very quick defense of the Jungle Book, the only thing I will say, I cannot stay awake through the original Jungle Book movie. Whereas at least the live action version, I was able to like follow it along and stay awake. So I'll give it that. I'm not going to say it's phenomenal, but I will give it that.
But
for
did
sure.
you love Christopher Walken singing "I Want to Be Like
Yes.
You"?
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
did?
Actually,
100%.
I really did.
That's my favorite live action adaptation so far was Jungle Book.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of funny because I also really I enjoyed Lion King. So that's the great thing with these Disney movies is that they're not going to be for everyone.
Right.
Totally.
And I think they kind of know that. They're just telling these stories again so that kids who grow up in a culture of CGI and everything looking almost real, they can pay attention to this as opposed to something that was drawn by the like blood, sweat, and tears of a team back in the 40s type thing. So I totally understand why they're doing it, although I don't know why I keep going out expecting to be blown away by this new story when they're not going to change the story much unless, they actually have the balls to do so. It's weird.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to our final rating here, which we're going to be rating on the scale of 1 to 5 real boys. Darcy, I'll get you to go first.
like I said, the visuals I really enjoyed for the most part, except for some of the characters. The scenery and the locales they took us to were very vivid and felt very cartoonish. So I love that aspect. Music was great too. It was some of the main characters acting, and then that story with potential and then no payoff that really upset me with this movie. So I'm going to be giving this one 2.5 out of 5 real boys.
Woo!
I was not the biggest fan of Pinocchio. I'm looking forward to seeing what Del Toro does with this story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Megan, how about yourself?
Well, I remember not loving the original so much. So I guess I went in with high hopes for this one, that it would, I don't know. I feel like I thought I would like this one better, but I didn't realize it was going to be the exact same thing, just in live action. I agree with you, Darcy. The visuals of the scenery and like all of those parts of the movie were really beautiful, and even like Geppetto's shop and sort of the depth field of different scenes was really stunning. I didn't love the like hands coming at my face 3D aspect of it, but yeah, I think they just could have done more, and there was a little too much left to be desired for me in this one. Weirdly, I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5 real boys, so I guess I'm being a tad nicer than Darcy, but yeah, definitely not one of my favorites I've seen.
Yeah, Darcy's going to turn into a little donkey at the end of this. Overall, yeah, this movie was very safe. It's a classic tale that, I guess, you know what, it got a few, Glenn Ballard, I think, added a lot to this movie for what he added with the music, and Alan Silvestri as well, with the updates to the soundtrack and the little things that they were maybe, I guess, asked to add, allowed to add. I don't know what the talks were about that, but I think it benefits a little bit from being brought up to date for younger and future audiences. But for anyone expecting anything more than what you know from the original, drop those expectations right now and go in expecting to watch the same story with all too brief moments of potential expansion on the original tale, and moments where you're kind of like, oh, I'm interested again. Oh, no, they're not doing that anymore. Okay. Again, the cast, I think the cast was great. I think the cast was really, really a great choice. Tom Hanks, to me personally, I thought Tom Hanks was super charming, but we didn't get enough of it. And even the charm that we did get was not enough to really give me any reason to believe that this movie had to be really made, which sounds super harsh. But again, if you've never seen the original animated film, maybe you'll get something out of this one if you've never seen Pinocchio before, but I feel like you have. I feel like so many people who are looking at this movie probably have, and I guess maybe just kids haven't. But with so many Pinocchio projects happening this year, I think it might be better to wait for one that's actually trying to do something different, and I think we are going to see that. I'm not going to watch the Pauly Shore version, but I think the Guillermo del Toro version, I think, is actually going to be, I think, really fantastic. I hope that's the case. I hope my nose doesn't grow after saying that. I think, yeah, I think that will be a movie. Get ready, guys, for what I wrote here. That will be a movie that can really break from its strings. I'm so smart. I'm such a smart reviewer. I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 real boys. I think the animation, the cast, and the music brought me up from that 2.5. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 real boys. Well, that's it. We hope you enjoyed this spoiler-free review for Pinocchio. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write in and you want to be a real boy, you can write into the show with your thoughts on this movie or any of the movies or shows we cover. Megan, can you let our listeners know how they can reach us?
Yes, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. And if you don't want those strings to hold you down, you can find us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
I like that. That was not too shabby. I like that. Very nice. All right. Well, keep in mind we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, and games, including our interview with Mater himself, Daniel Whitney, a.k.a. Larry the Cable Guy. We had a lovely conversation about his time as Mater and his proudest moments, sharing the character with his kids at Cars Land at Disney's California Adventure. So definitely go check out that interview. We also actually have an interview with the two people I mentioned earlier, Glenn Ballard and Alan Silvestri. Alan Silvestri, the composer for Disney's Pinocchio, and the Glenn Ballard, who wrote a lot of the lyrics to the songs that we were talking about that I think did actually add quite a bit to this movie. So Justin had the chance to sit down with them and talk about their contributions to this film, and it was a really lovely conversation. So go check out that interview. And on the kind of completely on the opposite spectrum, I guess, I also had the chance to interview Zach Kreger, writer and director of the horror film Barbarian, which, as you're listening to this now, it is in theaters, so you can definitely check it out in theaters. And I think that's the best way to probably watch it, is with a crowd. But yeah, that I had a great conversation with him just about his experience, and it is spoiler free, so you can definitely check that out before seeing the movie. And that movie, oddly enough, eventually, it's not going to be out right away, but it'll eventually be on Disney Plus as well, which is crazy to think that you can just watch Pinocchio and then flip on over to Barbarian. So definitely go check out all those interviews on this podcast service, as well as at YouTube, at youtube.com/Geekcentric. Also, if that's not enough for you, we recently got back from our first time as press at Fan Expo Canada, and we dropped our most recent This Week in Geek episode with our thoughts on the experience, as well as on our YouTube channel. You can check out interviews with various Canadian artists and brands who make some really cool geeky stuff that we love. So definitely check those out. We also have our spoiler-free reviews for, I Am Groot, Netflix's Day Shift, The Sandman from Netflix, Skydance Animation's Luck, Prey from Hulu and Disney Plus, if you happen to miss any of those. And of course, with D23 happening this weekend, we're going to have some coverage on what's announced there as well. And we also have our weekly Watch Club, where we break down our theories every week on a new show that's out on Disney Plus, or any new show. At least for this Watch Club, we are focusing on She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and our episode 4 is probably going to be out either by the time you're listening to this or the next day. So, hopefully you've already seen the episode, and then you can tune in to hear our thoughts. With so much going on, make sure you click all the things, tap on all the things, like all the things, follow all the things, and leave a 5-star review if you don't mind. Megan, Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for today's classic journey of an episode. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Bye.